What's up, everybody? Welcome back to System Crafters Live. I'm David Wilson, and we're back again with another Friday stream where we get together as a community and talk about whatever topic I've come up with. And today is no exception, except for like the previous 3 weeks where there was an exception because there was no stream because I totally flaked out. Sorry about that. Life is interesting how things go. You had a kid 3 months ago, then went on vacation for a while, and then I had a relative of mine come into town for a month, and it's been interesting. It's, like a lot of adjustment periods between the different things that have happened. So it gave me a lot of time to reflect on, what I've been doing, as, my personal projects, and also with this channel. And I was kind of a little bit frozen for a minute there. I didn't really have anything to talk about. That's the main reason why I didn't have any streams the last few weeks. Just I didn't have a topic. Haven't really been doing much system crafting myself. Obviously still using Emacs and Geeks every day, but not really doing anything new with it. So there wasn't really like an impetus to come up with a topic for a stream. So that is basically my explanation for why you haven't seen me for a little while. But I'm very happy to be back. I'm very happy to see all of you here today. There was a lot of people in the chat before the stream started. Hopefully they get transitioned into the playing state of the stream. But I will say hello to the folks who I've seen so far. Anton, Gunn, Glenn, John, Bionic Babelfish, Alejandro, Andrew, Thomas, someone with a character that doesn't show up on my screen. Sorry for that. Let's see. Keekan's out. Sorry. Slalom Skater. Who else? Alternate Ved. And Jeff, thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. I noticed in the chat that Anton says that today he became a dad, so congrats. It's awesome. Yeah, becoming a parent is a life-changing event. However you want to define life-changing. For me, it was life-changing in the sense that I realized that my time was not my own anymore, which is not a bad thing. You just have to sort of adjust to having a kid, a person who depends on you. Now, when you have two, then things get a lot more interesting. But you learn to adapt and you learn to manage your time better to accomplish the things that you want to do. So it's not so bad. It's kind of nice, actually. Seeing your kids grow up day by day, because they grow pretty fast at an early age, it's very interesting. Hello to Valentino, to Zerobug, and Andre. Is the chat overlay blurry? Hold on a second. Oh, no, it's fine. It just looked blurry on my local stream. Cool. So before we get into the topic for today, let's talk about updates. First of all, LibrePlanet 2024. LibrePlanet is a conference put on every year by the Free Software Foundation. And they've got the call for proposals up since, I think, September 9th. So it's going on from September 9th to October 25th. The theme this year is cultivating community, but there's other categories of talks they're looking for. If you check out the site libreplanet.org/2024, they have information about how you submit your proposals. But if you want to give a talk on something in the broader sphere of free software, like they give some suggestions down here. What was it? Licensing, security, community, social context, hardware, freedom ladder. Not sure about the freedom ladder. Free software documentation, free software in government, education or practice, workshops or talks. There's a lot of things that you could do if you're interested in engaging with the wider free software community. Definitely consider submitting a proposal for that event if you want to go. That's going to be an in-person conference, I think. There may be some remote sessions, but it's mostly in person, and that's in Boston next year, I believe. But I'll be there because I'm going to be giving a keynote because it's about community. So they decided that I know what I'm talking about related to community. Don't know why, but it's fine because I have some thoughts. So I'm going to go give a talk there about cultivating community. So that should be pretty cool. So definitely submit some proposals for that. So the Emacs Conf that is happening in December just posted the list of talks for the conference that you'll see here on the page that I've got linked in the show notes. A lot of cool talks to check out this year. Great variety of things. Some development talks, some are just like general Emacs talks. As usual, it's a great conference put on by members of the community, including Sasha Chua, among others. So go check out that list of talks. Hopefully you've submitted one. I see a couple of names in here that I recognize, people from the community in general. So that's great that people submitted talks for that. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be some nice talks. Also, sorry, Jeff, I never merged your September update notification until today, and I just saw your RC1 notification. But Jeff Bowman has put out a couple of news posts about the latest developments in Crafted Emacs. You can check out the update about the September efforts that have been going on between Jeff, Judy, and Stefan, who are now the newer team members there. But they've been doing a lot of great work, especially around documentation. And then there was a post just today about the RC1 release of Crafted Emacs 2. So it's got like the new design that we showed on stream, I don't know, maybe 2-3 months ago. Can't remember how long ago that was. But if you're interested in trying out Crafted Emacs V2 and you want to use something that's a bit more stable and closer to release, definitely check out RC1. Pretty close to being done releasing that version. I've been seeing a lot of quality cleanup work, closing old bugs, fixing up a lot of stuff. So I imagine this is going to be a major improvement of a release. I'm looking forward to trying it out. And I think we'll show it on stream whenever V2 comes out. Maybe we'll find a way to do that in a fun way. That's it for the updates. I'm trying to think if there's anything else salient here. Oh, yes, there's one big thing, actually. Let me pull up the Libra chat news archive. Yes. So this is a bit of a bummer. Apparently, Libra chat in August decided they were going to shut down the IRC bridge to Matrix. So if you've been in the System Crafters Matrix channels or the System Crafters IRC channels, those used to be bridged two-way so that anyone who talks on either side gets bridged across to the other side. And because of a number of technical issues with the bridge software, Libra Chat, I think, decided they wanted to just cut ties with it because it was causing a burden on their servers. Plus, people were having a hard time with the instability. So unfortunately, the Matrix channels for System Crafters are no longer bridged to IRC for the moment. Now, they say in this blog post that it is possible for folks to run their own IRC bridge software. So I'm looking into how we might be able to set up our own IRC bridge between Matrix and Libra Chat. But for now, at least, the IRC and Matrix camps are separate, which sucks because, there's a number of people in the IRC side that I like talking to, and I'm mostly hanging on Matrix. So I think I'll be joining up on both sides independently these days just to see how things are going. Yeah, it's just something worth noting is that the Matrix IRC bridge for Libra Chat has been shut down. This affects the System Crafters, Matrix, and IRC channels. If anybody's interested in setting up IRC to Matrix bridges and wants to help me to set one up, or at least to find a decent way to do that, please let me know, because we'll have to do something about it pretty soon. Let's see. Hello to Jean-Baptiste, Ashraz, Bacon Boy. All right. Let's see. Gunn says, Jeff, do I have to switch from Crafted V2 Beta to Crafted V2 RC1? Probably. Maybe he mentions that in the blog post. Yeah, Crafted V2 RC1 probably is what it is. Ashra says, I'm late. I'm still helping my dad with his new GPU. Well, I wonder what games your dad will be playing with his GPU, unless he's going to be doing some crypto mining or something. Bacon Boy says, how do I make the inner key open file links in org roam and make it open in a new frame also? Well, I think there's something like org follow link. Yeah, org return follows link. I believe if you set org return follows link to true, then it means if you press return on a link in an org document, it will follow the link. And since org roam is built on org mode, I think that is what will do the job for you on that. Alejandro says, how does Emacs Wayland Composer go? Any progress? Is it usable? I haven't looked into it recently. I'm certainly curious to know about that. Emacs Wayland Compositor. Let's see. Interesting that it doesn't show up. My video shows up. The video the guy gave at the conference talk shows up, but the actual link to the repo or page doesn't show up. Get out of here. Get out of here. Yes, let's reload the whole page just because I closed a transient dialog. That's great. Software engineering. Okay, yeah, I don't know. Discussions. Yeah, let's not dig too much more deeply in here. Anyway, no idea, but it would be nice. I saw something else. Thomas says, so you switched to Windows? Thomas was joking on me for having trouble at the beginning there. No, I did not switch to Windows, of course not. And I saw something else about EXWM somewhere in the back chat. I see somebody spamming the emotes in the live chat. Thank you for doing that. I see it. I don't know if other people see it. You don't have to stop. Oh, Thokal. Hello, Thokal. Still struggling with getting guided in EXWM working in a stable fashion, so I have to rewatch lots of your videos. Yeah. Oh, geeks in EXWM. Things have changed a lot. EXWM is actually making progress. I'm sorry, I need to get back into the topic, but I do want to call out that I've been seeing a lot of activity on the EXWM repo recently. A lot of bug fixes going on. Let's see, actually, let's look at the commit log. This says 2 weeks ago, but there's been a lot of things happening in pull requests and issues. So that's pretty cool. I'm glad to see that there's kind of some activity happening. But anyway, probably there needs to be a refresh on the EXWM series if I consider it to be worthwhile to use. I'm not using it myself. I've been using Sway, and it's been quite good for me in the short term. Okay, hello, Data Monoid. All right, today what I want to talk about is community. So I like to talk about community at a high level. Basically, reasons that someone would want to join a community, what value they provide to their members, and how they might evolve from like a simple hangout, a place where people like to gather, to like a group of people with a positive mission. Probably you're wondering, why are we talking about community in general? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One is that, since System Crafters is a community, I mean, it's a YouTube channel. Obviously, we do live streams here. I do videos, or at least I did videos before. But I also consider it a community. We have a lot of people who hang out on IRC and Matrix. People who come to the streams every week, which I'm super thankful that you guys are still coming after I ducked out for so long. But it's a community. There's people who are here, who are regularly here. There's people who I've been talking to for 2.5 years now, which I consider friends. So we have a community here, and I want to look particularly at what our community means to us, but also at the broader communities that we're a part of, which would be like the free software community, the Emacs, Geeks, Lisp and Scheme, Linux communities, etc. Because the kinds of things that we do in this channel or in this community touch all those areas and more. There's a lot of people who are doing scientific research, or who are university students, or who are using Emacs in industry. There's lots of communities that we're part of, but I kind of want to look at things through a lens of just like more narrowly in the spaces that we are most closely aligned to. And one reason is rather self-serving, is because I'm sort of trying to think about how to present things in terms of the talk I'm going to give at LibrePlanet. But the other is that I've been saying for a while now that I want to make System Crafters more community-oriented and not so much about just the videos on the channel. I think that there's a lot of value that is not being realized in the people that we have here and the things that we could do, and also the opportunities we have for bringing in new people to the community and helping them learn how to use things like Emacs and Geeks, and then being able to contribute to projects either that we have sort of in our own sphere, or even just things outside, like contributing packages for Emacs or for Geeks, various different functionality for Geeks, etc. So I kind of want to figure out how we can transition to being more community oriented. And obviously that takes work on my part, but I think that we need to sort of identify what the valuable things are that would give us the most bang for the buck and make people feel like it's worth their time to get more involved with what we're doing. So I don't have all the answers here. I know what I've experienced being a person who has tried to create a community and do this for a couple of years now. Actually, I think it's been 3 years now. No. Yeah, I think 2020 on September 11th. So whoops, I missed the 3-year anniversary. But anyway, point being, I've been doing this for 3 years now. Learned a few things, but I'm no expert. So I'm looking to you all for input to see what we all can kind of just come up with for some of these questions that I have. These are just the things that I thought of, like the kind of questions, rhetorical questions, not rhetorical. I want you to answer them, but we're all going to discuss these various questions. But if there are more things that you can think of that are relevant to talk about related to community, please feel free to suggest them in the chat. Let me see. Jean-Baptiste says, it would be cool if communities help each other in getting a gig. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. We should keep that in mind. So, first of all, I don't have anything written here. We're going to be coming up with it on the fly. So, first of all, why join a community? I'm curious to know from the people who have kind of gotten involved in System Crafters community, not like working on projects, but just, joining the chats, coming back, occasionally talking to people. What was it that made you join the community per se? Like what led you to join the Discord server or the Matrix or the IRC and start actually interacting with other people? I mean, in my mind, like there's a few things, like to get help with a problem. There's probably a pretty common thing. People have a question about Emacs. They want to jump into a chat somewhere and ask people questions. Also to just to geek out about things they're interested in. It's a lot of fun to go into a chat or a forum and talk about whatever topic you're obsessed with at that given moment. And because Emacs and Geeks both provide sort of an infinite palette of obsession, I think that it's at least in our community, it's one way where you if you have people to talk to about the thing that you're really obsessed with at that moment, then it makes a lot of sense to join in to keep coming back. What else? Let's see. To contribute to a mission that is personally meaningful. That's not as much the case for us. Definitely the case for other things like free software. So probably a person who wants to join the free software community and contribute to projects there cares about software freedom or privacy or any of the things that are sort of like the principles of free software. You feel like you want to have control over your computing experience or your computer or your phone, your devices in general, and you want to contribute to software that makes that possible for yourself and for everyone, because otherwise you're just going to be using software that's made for you by people who want to have control over you and how you use your computer. So to contribute to a mission that's personally meaningful, I think that is a big one. Also, not only to help people with a problem, or it could be to help other people with a problem, with problems. Maybe you know the answers to questions, like you join Stack Overflow and you answer a bunch of questions, or maybe Quora or another site like that. Maybe you want to use your knowledge to help other people, which I think could be really nice. A nice way to spend your time if you don't want to be like a content creator and make, videos or blog posts or articles or whatever, if you just want to help people in chat or in a forum or in a mailing list, etc., that's another reason I think people might join a community. Please feel free to make any suggestions you have for other thoughts on this in the chat. Because you think it sounds cool. I mean, that could be a reason. Maybe just the vibe of the community, or you see nice people there. I don't know. I mean, just kind of coming in contact with a community and seeing that it's kind of cool people that are doing interesting things could be a way to get you into a community, to get you interested in getting involved and contributing, or at the very least, just hanging around, lurking, etc. Matto, hey Matto. Community is a way to be productive with your time, doing something you actually want to do. We need to be more productive in the society, doing things we either don't want to or don't see the meaning. That's a good point, actually. So generally, to connect with other people, Andres says in the chat. And then Matto said, to do something productive with your time that you actually want to do. Yes, definitely. I mean, for me, I feel like what I do, trying to at least make content or even to start projects that I never finish, it is mainly to do something that I think is interesting, but that may also have value to other people. So, making a video or writing a guide or writing a tutorial blog post, or writing a package for Emacs, or writing a service for geeks, or whatever, anything like that. It gives you the ability to learn something, do something interesting that you want to do, and share that with other people, which I think is nice. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to say on that front. To be mentored and learn more than you could on your own. I mean, that's possibly one reason, because certain types of skills are not so easy to learn just from tutorials online, especially in more esoteric softwares or programming languages like, Emacs or Lisps in general. Those things, there's lots of resources, but it's not so mainstream that there's like super high quality, polished resources. Plus, there's also, things are a bit more advanced, I guess you could say. So I think that mentoring, or either being a mentor or being mentored by someone else. So to mentor or to be mentored and learn more than you could on your own, because those who mentor other people also learn. I think I learned plenty by trying to teach things to other people, because you have to be accurate and clear about what you're saying. So it kind of puts a higher standard on what you know and what you're trying to share with someone else. John Thingstad says, to catch up with new Emacs gossip. Yeah, definitely a way to keep up with news in a particular area. Certainly that's one thing. Because the people who are enthusiasts of a given topic are going to try to find communities of people who are talking about that topic, and pretty much any piece of information that's relevant to that community is going to somehow make its way into the community, because people will just be seeing it from various different places, and it will get shared among everyone, which is good. I've learned so much. I've heard about so many new packages or new things in general that are related to what we talk about here, just from the folks in the Matrix chat or IRC, or even people in the live chat of the streams. Gunn says to get orientation within the Emacs universe with this gazillion packages and solutions. Yeah, to quickly ramp up in a complex topic area like Emacs, for sure. Sorry, once again, I can't read the name, but they say note chat, IRC matrix versus form are two very different things. Chat's ephemeral, which is good or bad depending on your goals. One's ephemeral and the other's searchable. Yes, indeed. I still have mixed feelings about depending on chat a lot. Alejandro says to get RTFM more often than not. So what Alejandro is saying is that people will tell you RTFM. Read the effing manual, which that's the thing that used to happen a lot. But I don't want to hear that in System Crafters community. Jean-Baptiste says, I wish I could contribute more. It's hard to find an entry point from where one can start editing the config or Doom or how it's organized. See, that's the thing that this community should be able to help people with more proactively. So we should talk about that in a little bit. Matto says, depending on where you live, it can be hard to socialize with other people who share the same interests, especially in niche communities like Emacs, for example. It's a great way to socialize. However, one needs to be careful about being in an echo chamber. That's actually a great point. To socialize with people outside of their local area. I mean, this is a worldwide community that we have here. People from pretty much anywhere you can think of, I've seen come through, which is awesome. It's really great. I prefer it that way. I don't want to just talk to people who have the exact same cultural context that I have, because then you just, like Matto says, you get caught in an echo chamber. But I think Matto here is talking about the echo chamber of the community around a given topic, which, yes, there's definitely two sides to that. But I feel like it's better to interact with people who are not from where you are to understand the world a bit better. Let's see, anything else? We're getting some really good suggestions in the chat. I appreciate it. I'm trying to think of why I have tried to join a community. I mean, the last community I can remember, see the good morning discussion. Which discussion is that? You mean saying good morning to everyone in chat in an IRC or matrix and people being like, it's not morning where I am. Yeah, so the first community that not the first, the most recent community I remember joining was like gamedev.net, and that was in 1999 or 2000, I think, which tells you I haven't really been part of like an online community in a while. But why did I join that community? Yes. To share what you've been working on in case others would be interested. I mean, that's definitely a good reason. Because, I mean, whenever I was trying to, write video games when I was in high school, I wanted to talk about, game development and the game that I was working on to other people. So I was sharing that information. A lot of stuff about, trying to learn from other people, to find people to collaborate with on your projects. That's another valid reason, especially in a community like this. Maybe you have an Emacs package you're working on and it's, a bit more difficult than you expected, and you want somebody to help you to, polish it up. Then, maybe you're able to find somebody in that community who can help you, at least, either in the short term or the long term, that kind of thing. Yeah, what other reasons did I have? I mean, I guess another reason is to find people who understand your weird topical humor. Like if you have, programmer humor or things of that nature. Peter says to get alternative views. Yeah, certainly a good reason to be exposed to views that you are I suppose one way to word it. Alejandro says, I actually don't get RTFM any often, at least on System Crafters people. They're very kind and actually share points of interest, explanation, and when they do it with great patience. Yes, I certainly appreciate the people that we have in our community, because it's been almost always very nice people. Okay, I think that I've at least exhausted all of the reasons I can think of for this one. So, anything else you want to say on that? Matto says, mostly being from different parts of the world with different cultural, social, any background and social strata makes it very difficult for echo chambers to form, certainly. Peter says, RTFM is largely a meme among technophobes. Well, you know, the Linux and somewhat free software community of the 90s was very RTFM, very elitist. People would definitely flame you or shout you down in a mailing list or IRC chat if you ask a legitimate question, because, you know, it's just sort of like a sport flaming people, which I think is hopefully not as common as it used to be. Alejandro says, as a teacher, I don't find people interested in getting involved in my particular projects, but I get interesting feedback on technical points. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Or at least get feedback on them. Good point. Okay, so why would I ask this question? Why join a community? Mainly to better understand why someone would want to join our community and to provide clearer entry points for people. So let's see. How do we make it easier for people to join a community? I guess the corollary question to that is, you know, what does it mean to join a community? But, you know, how do we make it easier? Well, you know, at least, you know, point them to where they should go to find everyone. That's definitely one thing. Andre says, flames comp.lang.lisp. Probably, yes. I never spent any time on that one, but I imagine. Alejandro says, even early 2000 RTFM was not a joke, but a command. Yes. Yeah, early 2000 was still that time period. Matto says, to be fair, most of those 90s projects had better documentation than code. That said, it's hard for someone who has spent many, many days. Get out of here. In the docs to be asked basic question worth a search in the docs. Yes, certainly. I mean, people should consult the docs, but I don't know. Some people are in a hurry because they've got a problem, like their stuff isn't working anymore and they just want an answer and it's too hard to search, or maybe they can't search because their computer is broken and they don't have another device to search on. Hey, Dave. Edge Crusher. Hey, Edge Crusher says, Suckless seems to take RTFM a step further. ITFC, interpret the F in code. Yep. That's certainly one way to organize a community. Basically say, we're not going to give you really documentation or configuration. We're just going to give you the code, and it's up to you to figure out what to do with it. I mean, that's valid to a certain group of people, I think. And Suckless projects are kind of cool, but still, you know, elitism is not that cool, in my opinion. All right. So let's go back to the actual question here. So how do we make it easier for people to join a community? Point them to where they should go to find everyone. Make it easy to find projects to contribute to, collaborate on. Glenn says, we don't always understand the documentation either. That's a good point. I mean, just because there's documentation doesn't mean that it's going to help someone. It may just be dry reference docs that doesn't actually explain anything, which we've seen many, many times. Not necessarily in Emacs, but in other places, you know, like documentation quality varies widely. Peter says, it sure exists, but how many outsiders would bump happenstance on a Suckless project? Well, if you start looking into the sort of Linux world, eventually somebody's going to talk about DWM. So I think that it's fairly common. for people to run into that if they start looking at, like, if you go on YouTube, you search for Linux, you're probably going to run into DistroTube, and DistroTube talks about DWM or other related things fairly frequently, I think, or at least used to. Matto says, one of the greatest suggestions for someone to improve their software skills and unlock next level computer usage is being good with CLI tools such as ripgrep, ugrep, and understand regular expressions. Yeah, well, definitely to find things quickly. Certainly. Peter says, in my experience, RTFM happens far less, mainly because so many people no longer want to read and just want to use stuff. Yeah, well, I think software in general has gotten a bit easier to use in some ways. Obviously, not so much in Linux world or that sphere, but in some ways it has happened. Dave says, specifically calling out issues that are good for new contributors seems to work well. That helped me back when I hadn't contributed to anything before. Yeah, pointing, excuse me, out easy starting points for contributing, easy issues, documentation, etc. Scott Haley says DistroTube is an Emacs bro now. Yeah, DistroTube has been sort of an Emacs bro, but I think, excuse me, gradually over time, it's been more and more. It's taking more of center stage in his content. I haven't really paid attention too much, but I did see he was doing effectively an Emacs from scratch series recently, which is totally cool. Alejandro says, I remember getting RTFM about basics of Emacs when I didn't even know about info pages. Yeah, well, that's not so easy necessarily. Info pages, I mean, not necessarily so easy to use from the start if you don't know anything about Emacs. In such cases, a simple explanation about the documentation and where to find it would be more productive. Yes, I agree with that for sure. I mean, no matter how you look at it, if someone comes looking for help, not being a jerk is the best way to ensure that they're successful, and also that someone may stick around and help other people. Pay it forward, as it were. Alejandro says, I take RTFM comments as well-intended, though kind of rude, but actually good advice. Yeah, it depends on the tone. Tone matters. Matto says, having a good onboarding experience is crucial. A new person needs to not be overwhelmed by anything, and Emacs really needs to get this down. The tutorial is great, but doesn't cover much. Yeah. Provide a good, quote-unquote, onboarding experience, which is very corporate terminology. Glenn says, I found the System Crafters community incredibly welcoming to non-devs like myself, and that is by design, because I want more people to learn how to program, but they don't have to be programmers by trade. I mean, like, writing a function in your Emacs configuration that helps you to enable and disable something, that's writing code. And that's powerful because it means that you can start to learn how to automate things yourself. So non-devs should definitely be trying to do this stuff and learn. And one of my goals is to make it so that non-developers can actually learn how to contribute to projects and even make their own packages. So I do see a lot of that happening. Obviously, Prat has made many packages by this point, very good and widely used packages, and he was not a programmer to begin with. So at least in this sphere, not system crafters, but like Emacs, free software, etc., there's certainly a lot of room for non-programmers to come in and actually, learn some really useful skills that they would not have learned otherwise. Peter says, it should be easier to get into the systems. Usually there's a big gap between tutorial and advanced stuff. Yeah, for sure. Keeson says, speaking for myself, I think there is a long period of consumption before feeling to be able to contribute. So therefore, welcoming atmosphere is great value. That's a great point. So the question here is, how do we make it easier for people to join a community? Have, what is the right word for that? Promote a welcoming atmosphere so that someone doesn't lurk for a long time before joining. John says, Google, cut and paste, modify. Code, you say? Well, you got to start somewhere. I mean, I cut and paste too. What can I do? You know, I've been programming for 25 years, maybe more. I don't remember. And I still like find snippets on the internet and cut and paste them. So, you know, you got to do what you got to do. Let's see. Scott says, some people will just want a quick answer to a quick question, and RTFM can be daunting, especially for noobs who might not even know how to grok a manual. Yep, indeed. Jeff says, Emacs Elements guy isn't a developer either. No, he is a pastor, which I think is pretty awesome. You know, there's what is his denomination? I don't remember what his denomination is. Lutheran, I think. He's a Lutheran pastor. Really interesting that he got into Emacs. So I think that he might actually have like, you know, long-time computer interests. So, you know, I don't think it's just like all of a sudden a pastor one day decided to use Emacs. I think that he in particular is a long-time computer nerd. That's my assumption. Theo Peckley says, if your code hasn't purged at least one person, you're not a real coder. You mean if they haven't like, you know, caused a bug that has annoyed someone? I've done many of those. Alejandro says, on a Linux user group I was part of, many guys and gals went away precisely for the excessive RTFM comments. Yep. Yeah, you can't be saying RTFM to everyone who drops by unless what you want is to keep people out. And maybe that's what some communities want. Some communities do want to keep people out. They want to only have their small, tight-knit group of diehards. And that's fine, but that's a different kind of community than the wider communities that are sort of intended to at least help people learn or to build things. It's hard to build great things if you aren't willing to have a wide variety of people, you know, join and help, and also encourage them to join and help. It's really important. Peter says, many pastors. The Leptos guy is caller too. Really? Nice. Glenn says to look for and provide support to the rest of the community where you can. Yeah, that's true. For members of community, actively helping new people will help them, you know, decide to stick around. I mean, that's really important. Jeff says pointers to documentation that explain things help when giving the RTFM answer. Yeah, if you can actually provide someone with a link to the docs, if you say RTFM and you give them a direct link to the docs, that's great. You know, like, here, you will learn something by looking at this page in the documentation. That happens plenty of time. Keegan Zoot says, hosting, coordinating friendly competitions, e.g. game jams, etc. Yeah, that's an interesting idea, actually. I hadn't thought about it that way. But organizing events like code jams, game jams, etc. might attract new people and help them join. Cool. So the question is, how do we make it easier for people to join a community? Yeah, basically, you know, provide a good onboarding experience, kind of like the top level item there, because you need a way for someone to like, they hear, like, let's say specifically in the perspective of system crafters, they see a system crafters video and they're like, okay, cool, I want to learn more about this. And they look in the description. The first thing they should really see is a link to systemcrafters.net. And then the front page on systemcrafters.net should be about like, okay, here's the link to the videos, but also if you are interested in learning more, here's a community, here's how you get started, etc. That's not the way it is right now. That's the way that it should be, I think. See you, Alejandro. Thanks a lot for joining us. I know you have other things to do right now at this time. Yeah. And also, I guess, like, what does it mean to join a community? That's a relatively easier one to answer. I mean, just join the social... What do you call it? Mediums for the community. That's like the primary one, I think. Like you have to get plugged in. So like IRC, Matrix, mailing lists, etc. Not as interesting of a question. Peter says, for system crafters, specifically a set of katas would be nice. Yeah, that's kind of an interesting way if you think about like how to teach someone to program or to accomplish a specific goal, is like give them specific problems to solve, constrained problems that other people can help them with if they get stuck. Matto says, being able to take down the rose-tinted glasses when necessary. Emacs might not be the perfect solution for that specific need, and being open-minded helps the community and project grow. And that's an interesting way to look at it. Being open-minded and not too tied to the commonly used tools or ideas, I guess you could say. Scott says, what's a kata? No, I will not Google it. A kata is like an exercise, basically. I think a kata is like it's from like martial arts, I think. A kata is like just, oh, yeah, someone in the chat says, kata is an exercise in martial arts that you do again and again to get better. In programming, it's a small programming problem that you solve to get better. Yes, thank you very much. Very concise explanation. See ya, Andre. For me, a kata is making coffee. Just make coffee repeatedly. Use the bean grinder. Pour the water over and over. Okay. All right, so next, why stay in a community long term? Well, I guess one of the most obvious thing is friendships or collaborators. You believe in the principles or mission. And, you know, we're talking community in terms of like a community that is actively working towards something, I would say. I mean, the free software community is actively working on a variety of projects that are all intended to increase software freedom and privacy for people. Kikensuit says Stockholm Syndrome. Well, let's see if we can think of another way to frame that. That's not Stockholm Syndrome. It's the social relationships, I guess. This is the way to say it. Barista mindfulness. Yes, indeed. I'm not very mindful when I'm making coffee. Usually I'm thinking about something else. Okay. What other reasons would you want to stay in a community long term? It's fun. Stuck home, yes. Yeah, you're all stuck home with me now. And during COVID, we were all stuck home. So that's the reason why you joined a community, because you couldn't go anywhere. I think that's the reason why people started watching the videos I was making, because everybody was stuck inside. And that's why I started making the videos, actually, because I was bored to death. Okay, anyway, enough COVID chat. What else? Why stay in a community long term? You have... you enjoy helping people there. Or maybe you get a lot of value out of the projects or communication, I guess you could say. Continuing to learn, yep. You continue to learn while come on, autosave, get out of here. While participating. Whoa. Anyway, because it's fun and more fun is nice. Yes, that's for sure. I mean, for me, I keep coming back to System Crackers chat. Well, for one, because I have to make sure nobody's doing anything bad, but also because it's fun to chat with the people who are there. I mean, there's lots of fun folks to talk to. And usually there's always someone around because, you know, we're across all the various time zones. Peter says, I think engagement and a shared vision is also important. It's not corny. That's like the opposite of corniness, because in the end, why do anything? You know, you wouldn't do something because it's pointless. Yeah, let's just call that shared vision. Certainly for something like free software in general. I mean, people really believe in free software. I believe in free software because, you know, it has practical impacts on my life, you know, whether or not I have the ability to, you know, change or audit the software that I use. Just having that peace of mind that, you know, if I need to, I can fix my own stuff and not have to depend on a company to do it. Scott says, we should all move into David's compound in Greece and start an IRL community. You mean a cult? That'd be cool. I'll start making the Kool-Aid. Let's see. What else? Why stay in the community long term? Because you want to take it over. You want to throw out the original leaders and then install yourself as the new leader. Matto says the reason to stay in a community a long time boils down to you gain something from it, and if you don't, you should reevaluate your priorities. Yes, there are many possibilities. Enjoyment, you learn something, you fix a problem, you create something, you like the ambient. Yeah, for sure. Definitely. So I guess another way to look at that question is like, what value? The Greek Davidians, oh boy. Yes, it is like that. There's a documentary on Netflix about blue communities where life expectancy is high. One of the reasons is a strong community. That's interesting. Glenn says to see others' progression. Interesting. To see others grow as well. Gunn says SC is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Yeah, you don't, do you? Keegan's out says, keep in touch even as other things in your life change. Also, if it's a nice community, it's easy to re-engage when it suits you. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I've certainly seen that with our community. A lot of the same people coming back over the years and new people joining who also, you know, come back, which is, to me, is awesome. I think it's really cool. What value does a community provide for us? I mean, maybe this is rehashing the same stuff, but I want to think about it from a different angle. Maybe it is a lot of the same stuff, you know, gives purpose, learning, an outlet for creativity or motivation. A way to meet new people, which maybe is not something that was as clear from the other things we talked about before, but definitely it's cool to have a way to meet new people. You know, for me, for a long time, I felt like it was hard to meet people who were interested in the same stuff in a kind of environment that felt right, because you can go to IRC chat rooms for the various projects that you use, and people are asking questions there, but it doesn't really feel like people are necessarily making relationships there. Nobody's joking around or like, you know, just chatting about stuff. Is kind of like just the business of the day, I guess, you know, people just asking questions and stuff. I think that it needs to also have more of a socialization aspect as well. Like if there's like an offshoot channel, like Benoit mentioned something about a lounge channel earlier today, for a different reason. And that kind of thing is needed. The Matrix right now, and even the IRC, the main System Captors IRC channel, have both served that purpose, where it's just sort of like general chat. People just talk about whatever. And that's the best way to sort of meet people and understand their background, because you end up meeting really interesting people in the chat, like Glenn, who's here, who's not a programmer, but I think that Glenn is like a water engineer or something. I don't exactly know the details, but I know it's been discussed a bunch of times. Someone says Emacs, #Emacs is very different. They are zany. Yeah, a little bit. Creeper says, a place to ask if your code broke. Yeah. Depending on your community, it could be an audit on your lifestyle tools, whatever, a way to put yourself in check. That's a good point, actually, to learn best practices that you would not have figured out yourself. Electrical engineer. Sorry, Glenn. Things, architecture, or a config should be simple to use or to understand, like Python or Dutch architecture. Dutch architecture? Well, I guess I haven't really understood Dutch architecture. Create projects and community with these people, principles, more will join. Yeah. Mata says, which is very good because there are incredible, if very niche communities like PTA, which is absolutely great for personal finance and how to make money. What is PTA? Yeah, I'm not going to find this, am I? It's not Parent-Teacher Association. Yeah, PTA is too vague, I think, of an acronym. Oh, plain text accounting, indeed. Yeah, it's kind of surprising, actually. I think this is the one, right? Get out of here. I think this is a pretty good subreddit, isn't it? If you wanted to learn about accounting, personal accounting, double entry bookkeeping with tools like Ledger or Ledger, I think there's a lot of discussions here. Why is it giving me, give me the classic view. This is a terrible UI. Anyway, if you want to learn things like that, there you go. The IRC channel is also great. That's cool. I didn't know they had one. But yeah, like you can learn so much from that. And that's just because you decide to use a particular program about a certain topic. But I'm sure a lot of people learn about accounting from that, which is useful information, especially if you run a business. All right, what other value does a community provide for us? Matto says, I use GNUs for Reddit. Interesting. John says, GNU Cache is the open source one. GNU Cache is interesting. It's a graphical app, but also you can extend it using Guile Scheme, I think. Hey, Judy. Yeah, Reddit UI is a thing. Yeah, they just keep ruining it. More and more every year, Reddit just goes in the toilet. What other value does a community provide for us? And why would I ask this question? Because I want to make sure that, at least in the system crafters community, that we understand what the value of the community is so we can maximize it for other people. Creeper says, get to know your favorite creator. Maybe. Yeah, finding people to collaborate with on projects. Yes. Especially collaborators. Like projects that are too big for a single person? Yes, indeed. Like Crafted Emacs. Or Crafted Geeks, which I need to make some progress on. So yeah, like I basically want to be able to maximize the value that someone perceives when they join this community. I mean, people who are in the Matrix or IRC chat, generally I think that, being able to answer or ask questions every now and then is pretty useful for people. But I think there's more we could do for sure. All right, next, how does a community give its members a feeling of shared ownership? I kind of feel like this is an important thing for keeping people around and also for getting more people involved with actually the operation of the community or the projects that are a part of the community. So how would you give them a feeling of shared ownership? I mean, obviously, like asking for and listening to their feedback. That's one way, but maybe that's not as direct of a way. Another would be encouraging them to contribute to projects, code, websites, content, artwork, etc. Promoting, I guess you could say, not the best word, but it kind of makes sense, I guess. Promoting long-time members to also help with bigger things. You know, that's one thing that I'm thinking about a lot. It's like, okay, sure, I can try my best to come up with a bunch of different ways for us to do stuff in this community. But I think that a community can't just be about the ideas of one person in the end. I think that community has to be owned by the community. So eventually you have to get more people involved in sort of the direction and execution of what's going on. So I think it's going to be a big thing. I think communities who don't do that can't last very long, especially because there's a bus factor of one. That one person goes away, then the center of things goes away, and also, like, you know, websites die, domains don't get renewed, you know, things like that. Just like things gradually erode, I think. Matto says, I feel like the only point that needs to be on the list here is that a member is being listened to, whether it's feedback, reading comments on a stream, or participating in a discussion. Yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know, a lot of people come back to the streams because we actually have a conversation here, you know. I mean, we don't all have a voice chat going on, which maybe we should try that at some point. That might be pretty interesting. But at least in the streams, we're talking, because that's part of what I like about streaming. If it was just me sitting here talking to you the whole time and just not paying attention to the chat, it would just be, I might as well just be sitting at my computer doing things by myself. So definitely, you know, the interaction part is a big part for me. Judy says, let's see. Judy says, on the ideas, something like accepting ideas from everyone and deciding on those ideas with everyone. Having a democratic process for accepting and not voting on, but what is coming to consensus? That's just sounds ridiculous. Okay, deciding anyone's ideas. Judy had a much more concise way to describe that. And I think that's important. Yes. Had to look it up. The bus factor is the number of people that could be run over by a bus before a software project would have code nobody is familiar with, or the project would be for the project to be neutralized. Yeah, exactly. Bus factor is definitely a thing that you hear about a lot in larger software projects or companies. Creeper says, I have a community of 700 in a WhatsApp group. It's great. I can get feedback on my projects and see whether it's actually useful or not. Yeah, it's really good. If you have, you know, a lot of people that you can ask questions to and get feedback on. Judy says, probably 0 in most projects because it's basically before it started. Yeah. Okay. What else? How does a community give its members a feeling of shared ownership? I mean, why would you want to do that? I mean, because if you go to the trouble of creating a community, I'm going to reduce this to a binary, which is probably not the right way to do it, but I'm going to do it right now. There's either two reasons you would want to do that. One is that you are trying to create a cult and you're trying to be the head of the cult and you want people to follow you and do whatever you say. Or two is you actually do want this community to be bigger than yourself. You want it to mean something and to take on a life of its own, to accomplish goals that maybe you never even considered. So for me, I'm definitely in the latter camp, not in the former camp. Judy says, for tax reasons, System Crafters is not a cult. Yeah, for tax reasons, maybe. If you create a nonprofit. But yeah, I mean, I think it's the recognition that people can accomplish more together than alone. So if you have a community that is actually meant to be more of an active community, not just, talking crap about whatever the latest game got released, then you kind of want to accomplish something. And you can really only accomplish something if there's more people involved to help drive the efforts, I think. Matto says, what you said about communities dying, websites not being renewed is only true partially. Communities that have a reason for being alive will continue even if the founder moves on. And if it doesn't, it might have reached the end of its lifespan. Yeah, I guess there's been plenty of examples of the original person sort of fading out and it languishing, and then someone else like creates the new X, not X, the social media site, but just X being like the placeholder for some name of a thing. So that's certainly something that's happened before. Judy says, I feel like a community is also about giving people an environment where they can thrive in, where they can get help if they're stuck, find people to talk about ideas. Yeah, I mean, I would like, System Crafters to be like an incubator for people who want to learn more about these sorts of tools, but also about just using the computer better in general. Like, Matto mentioned earlier, I think it was Matto, about rip grep in general, regular expressions. I mean, people will eventually learn things like that from being in a community like this where people are thinking about or using these types of tools. And, a lot of people have never heard of a regular expression before, have no idea what it is, but eventually you have to figure it out if you want to solve certain problems you have. Judy says, I should have put thrive in quotes because it sounded a bit too much like business speak. No, I mean, thrive is a legitimate term for people, I would say. Glenn says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Yes. If you want to go fast and end early, go alone, for sure. That's my experience. Let's see. Giving them a place to thrive. Thrive. We've invented a new word. So I think we've gotten enough on that one. So next thing, what do we want to accomplish together? And that's more of a question for us. I know there's not that many of us here right now. But what do we want to accomplish? I guess I could say what I want to accomplish. Make it easier for new people to get started with Emacs and Geeks. Tutorials, crafted Emacs, crafted Geeks, etc. Something else just crossed my mind. Help people learn how to program, even if it's just Emacs Lisp. Matto says, like you see retro OS communities around, but you're not really seeing things like SVR4 communities nowadays. What is SVR4? Thomas says, the combined value is greater than the sum of the individual contributions. Yes. Well, there's a lot of value in one human mind. And if you got many human minds together, they overlap in certain places, but they also don't overlap in a lot of places as well. So you've got more potential for knowledge. AT&T Unix before BSD became a thing. Peter says, Crafted Geeks, did I miss something? Well, sort of. It's not really like real yet. I've started working on it and there's some stuff there, but it's not really usable at the moment. It's on Codeberg. That's probably why you haven't seen it. But there's a little bit of stuff there. You can take a look at it, but that's something that I need to get back to and certainly would be interested in help with. Yes, a base config for geeks like crafted Emacs. And it's also meant to simplify how you configure Geeks so that you don't have to know how to set up all of these programs and services yourself. You can just kind of plug together Lego bricks effectively of functionality. So that's what I'm looking for with that project. I mean, obviously crafted Emacs is like that as well because you have the modules that you load up. Judy says, hey, Jeff. Jeff gave Judy a shout out earlier, I think before Judy got here. System 5 Release 4, an early way of describing the version of Unix. Okay, cool. John says, improve people's Emacs configurations. We can't all like Doom or Spacemacs. Yeah. Build the best, I guess the most well-organized learning resource for the tools we use, plus the wider sphere of, using Linux and free software tools. Let's see. Yeah, that's one goal I have. I would like the website to be a lot more elaborate in terms of having tutorials that are organized in terms of larger themes, which I've talked about a few times on the channel. And that's a big job, which I need to sort of start putting my framework for the different themes in place so that people can maybe contribute if they want to, but that's kind of more on me than anything. Peter says, empower people to take ownership of their computer environment. Yeah. Indeed. I mean, that's kind of like the topmost. Judy says, can you link that? Let's see, pcal Emacs configuration generator. Yeah, here it is. Is it the website? emacs.amodernist.com. So it's basically a form, I think, where you can just fill out this form and it will generate an init.el for you, which is kind of cool. Some people claim that Emacs is difficult to start with. Well, I mean, yes, a little bit more than claim. It can be difficult to start with. But it's cool that this exists. I think that a site like that would be a lot easier for crafted Emacs just because it's basically just loading modules in a lot of cases. Yeah, you could build that Emacs. I mean, you could even build it as a page on GitHub Pages, which brings me back to another thought. Should we move crafted Emacs to Codeberg? I don't know if we should do that. Not sure if it's a good idea, but it's something I was thinking about today. What else for what would we want to accomplish together? I would say create a bunch of useful Emacs packages, geeks, packages, services, and other cool tools for others to use. Not necessarily under the banner of the community, but like at least to motivate or encourage people to start their own new projects, because who knows, who knows if someone creates like the next new cool thing for Emacs or geeks, just because we sort of encourage them to do it. Like they had an idea, say you should go do that, and then they did it, and then maybe something cool happens as a result of it. So. Peter says, GitHub starts to feel weird lately. I started self-hosting Git repos. I also want to do that. I thought about having like a cgit instance for System Crafters on systemcrafters.net, but it doesn't have collaboration tools, and Codeberg does. So Peter says, I also have good feelings with Codeberg. Yeah, Codeberg, Codeberg is great aside from the occasional outage they have, which is a little bit annoying, but it's not bad. I appreciate Codeberg. It definitely hits that good middle ground between something like GitHub, but also something that is free software and not super complicated, but still has all the functionality that you kind of want to have for collaboration. Judy says, yeah, I was thinking about it from time to time as well, but I think Codeberg needs some time still. But if David, Jeff say go, I'm not against it. And we could still sync to GitHub. Yep. Gunn has a good point. Isn't the idea behind crafting Emacs to get a feeling for configuration? A tool would contradict that. It's possible. Yeah, it's possible. Matto says, while I'm anagraphically young, I don't really even know what that means. I truly do not understand the greatness of forges compared to repo plus patches. I feel like the most people are just one big step away from realizing how much faster it is. Well, email-based contribution with patches is not the most friendly way for people to start. Now, you could say like having to go to a website and click buttons to submit a pull request is also not necessarily easy, but I think that the pull request model on Forge websites has kind of permeated things to the extent that, you know, people tend to know how to do that more commonly than deal with email. So yeah, to me, ideally, everybody would be comfortable just using email patches, but it's not the easiest way to do contribution on projects. Dave says, I've got quite the thread going on Mastodon about forgeless Git hosting right now, talking about an easily self-hostable issue tracker. I would love to read that thread. I've not been on Fediverse much lately because I've been kind of like trying to minimize my distractions with my phone, which has been going pretty well. But yeah, I would love to contribute to that discussion because I'm very interested in that idea. You know, one cool thing is the Fossil source control, which obviously is a different source control program, and you'd have to learn how to use that and teach other people how to use it, which makes it harder to adopt. But it has like issue tracking, wiki, all kinds of stuff built in, and it's something that you sync to your local machine so you can use it locally, which is pretty cool. But that's one possible solution in a world of solutions. Peter says, I installed Git mainly because of maintenance burden and resource usage. Yeah. I would like to try to do a self-hosted Forge Joe because I think it seems pretty doable. Forge Joe is good. I mean, it's basically Git, but, you know, without some other questionable things that Git may be doing. Jeff says email patches are fine with me if we want to move there. I want to avoid email patches just because I think that it's a barrier. People can obviously learn how to do it, but I think that people are less likely to contribute if it's not as clear. Peter says there are good CLI tools or forges that help cutting the click-clack to a minimum. I like that. Obligatory fossil comment. Yes, indeed. Theo Peckley says, I remember seeing something like a federated Git app or something. Dave says, Git is a no-go on Geeks because of all the Node.js stuff. Yes, that is a problem, actually. I want something that I can host with Geeks, but obviously Git or Forge Joe, at least in the main Geeks repositories, are a no-go because you need to... I don't know how up-to-date you need to be on Node to host that, but Geeks is typically pretty far behind on Node.js versions because of the work they have to do to rip out all the proprietary stuff. Judy says probably 18 because it's LTS. Well, let's see. Geeks packages. There's a cool little website for this now. Node.js. Wow. Can't even type. Node.js, very responsive. We are minor version behind on the LTS version of Node. That's not bad then. I mean, LTS is good. Is it just Node? Yeah, you're probably wondering, why are you not using the command line to do this? That's because this computer is super way behind on Geeks pull. So Geeks search Node. Oh boy, that's not gonna work, is it? There it is. Okay, well, at least in my current poll, it's 1816. That's good. It's not bad. Oh, someone wants to offer promotion of my channel. Thank you. I don't need any help with that because I'm not trying to promote the channel. I want it to stay small. I want to have less people. So all of you, please stop coming to the live streams and watching the videos because I want less people. I want to do the opposite of promotion. I want to kill this thing. It's going to be awesome. Okay, 1816, cool. I thought somebody would like that. All right, so what else? Cool. So examples, the Haskell approach. Okay. Examples of great communities. Like what is an example of a great community? I'm trying to think of ones that without having a whole lot of insight into what goes on there, I could say maybe Debian, because, super well organized, I think. Effective. Jeff says, I once saw a Haskell bug, had a bug in the compiler that would delete your code if it didn't compile. Well, that's one way to make sure you get good, right? Judy says, generally or software focused. It could be either, for sure. Alternate Vet says, Doom Emacs. That's cool. Doom Emacs. And also, any particular reasons? Great things about the new shell community. Yeah, I don't really participate in the new shell that much, but I know one of the people who is behind that project, and they're a great person, so it doesn't surprise me. What else? Let's see. What else can I think of? And okay, what does great mean? Friendly, effective, organized, fun, a pleasure to be a part of. Arch Linux? Are we being sarcastic, Gun? Alternate Ved says, great and smart folks in Doom Emacs community, really nice people and lots of inspiration. That's cool. Keegan Zoot says, I like the Geek community, although it has warts and issues. Yeah, no, I would agree with that, though. There are some very well-meaning people in the Geeks community, for sure. And I think that the overall intention is to have a good community that's welcoming and is easy for people to join and contribute to. I feel like Geeks was much easier for me to get started contributing to than pretty much any other major free software or Linux project that I had ever seen. In fact, it's probably the first real big free software project that I got a commit in. Peter says, oh, Camel. Don't know much about that one, but I believe you. Judy says, seen some nice people in the NeoVim space. Jeff says, Gentoo. It's been a while since I've been around in Gentoo, but I know they have excellent websites and documentation. Like, I would say Gentoo rivals Arch Linux in terms of the quality of the information they provide for people to get started. Judy says Gentoo docs is greater than Arch docs personally. Yeah, I've been surprised at how much useful stuff I found in Gentoo docs these days compared to Arch docs. So someone's done a lot of work there, I think. Keegan Suit says Clojure. Yeah, Clojure is interesting. And you can hear how my voice raised a little bit when I said that. Closure's had its own share of drama, I think. I would suppose any larger communities probably had drama though. Matto says many functional programming communities are great. Yeah, I think that some of them though are a little more spread out. Julia Lang says noon. Let's see, what else would I say? Let's think of some that maybe aren't necessarily software programming related. I certainly can't put Rust community on this list. Rust is pretty tumultuous. I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, Peter has it right. Especially when commercial interests get involved, drama swiftly follows. Yeah, that's the thing. Any effort to monetize or industrialize a technology ends up strangling it, I think. Judy says, what will forever stick with me? Gen 2 install guide explains how IPv4 works, just in case. Just in case you need to know how IPv4 works just to configure your networking device. Well, I mean, you may need to, who knows? If you need to understand what a subnet is, which you might end up being in that situation. Zig Lang. Zig is interesting. Oh, Serenity OS. I think that's a pretty positive community. At least it was the last time I was on Twitter. Hey, Fade. Fade, you have homework now. You have to go back through all the list of questions I have here and answer them before the end of the stream, which is in about 10 minutes. Golang. I'm not as sure about Golang, but Dave says Sprightly has a friendly community. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of people who are interested in Sprightly. I don't know, like, is there like an IRC channel that people are joining in? I'm guessing that the answer is yes to that, but I haven't personally entered it, so I haven't seen it. But knowing the people who are involved with Sprightly, I'm sure it's lovely. Elixir. Let's see, what else? Things outside of software. What communities am I aware of? I guess larger communities online generally are pretty toxic. Yeah, so what Matto mentioned earlier, plain text accounting. Stardew Valley community. Is it a miracle, huh? Interesting. I'm curious what that means. Fitness communities on Reddit. I guess they can be pretty encouraging to each other. But, you know, who knows? Stardew Valley on Reddit. Yes, I'm trying to think of non-software related communities and I'm coming up short because obviously the kind of person I am keeps me in front of the computer all day. Home growers is like, you know, vegetables and stuff. Yeah, I imagine that people who are in the, you know, growing your own food communities are probably pretty chill folks. I guess you could consider home brewers. Dave Thompson is a home grower, I think. Provided we're talking about food, right? I don't know what else people are growing in this community. Echo Strike says, last time I played Call of Duty multiplayer, I got told to F off and die a couple times. Oh, that's mild compared to what they say on Call of Duty. DIY mechanical keyboards communities. Yeah, those could be pretty good. But I guess the reason why I asked this question, permaculture, kombucha. Okay, cool. The reason why I asked this question is to sort of like find communities that are surprisingly good for a particular reason, and not because of like the necessarily what they do, but the information they provide, but the vibe they create that draws people in and, you know, gets them excited to be a part of the community. I think that's the thing that's important. Fade says maker communities in general tend to be pretty good because they're intrinsically collaborative. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're kind of there to learn techniques from other people. Dave says, you'd be surprised. Some permaculture, gardening, farming, homesteading communities are good. Some are not. It attracts people from both extremes of the political spectrum. Yeah, I guess you have the doomsdayers who are trying to learn how to grow their own food so that they can wait out the apocalypse. Yeah, overlap with doomsday preppers, exactly. Peter says beekeeping, although not without drama. Now, I can see how beekeeping would be pretty drama-filled. I don't know what it is about beekeeping, but it's such a specific thing that it has to be like, you know, super in-depth. Matto says, speaking of homebrewers, Gagino is like the best thing ever for a coffee aficionado. Turns a pretty common machine to a god tier class product, which set you back thousands. Interesting. Haven't heard of that. Hello, Amalveja, who has missed the stream. Yeah, you've almost missed it. I forgot to plug in the laptop that has OBS running on it, and it's got 22% battery left. So that is the clock for the amount of time we have left for the stream. I think we'll make it. Okay. Echo Strike says, I think beekeeping is like woodworking communities where people often disagree on what is safe and what is not. That's probably a more reasonable way to look at it. Jeff says, I'm a fan of my Breville pot for making tea. Peter says, 6 beekeepers, 7 opinions. Judy says, Dead by Daylight, generally speaking, has a nice community. That's pretty funny considering you're just murdering people the whole time. I guess in pretty much any game, you're murdering people the whole time. Steam Deck community is insane. I guess because people are modding it. Dave says, this is now a tea talk stream. You know, I'm not much into tea. But I respect it. I respect the tea game. I'd rather just grind my coffee and be done with it. Some people want the mellow buzz of tea. Me, I just want to like ram my head into the wall due to the surge of caffeine. Not really. But maybe really. Okay, so what did we accomplish in this stream? I mean, we wrote down a lot of stuff, which is cool. So where do we go with all this? Community, that's a good one. Judy says, also software related, but the Sega Saturn games engines community was quite welcoming the last time I went down that rabbit hole. Yeah, a lot of the retro system communities can be pretty cool because, you know, people are doing that stuff out of pure love. I work with a person who is into reverse engineering Nintendo 64 games, and he kind of just walked into that community, and I think people helped him get started learning how to do the reverse engineering, and then he started, you know, contributing to more reverse engineering for, you know, Mario 64, Mario RPG, stuff like that. So definitely from those kind of retro gaming communities. Oh, wow. Mjolnir says, good morning, David. Is this a new theme? I just noticed now that the tool that I use to change color temperature is actually affecting the stream now. Gross. What did I do? Has the whole stream been like that? No. Okay, so definitely changed. Dave says, I have a dream of making a PS2 game. Yes, I know it's 2023. The PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 aesthetic is really back in right now. Indie devs are totally trying to make PS1 and PS2 N64 style games. It's not 2D platformers anymore now, guys. It's PS2 games and PS1 games. I mean, what was the game called? The one that New Blood Games released, the one that got super popular, Dusk. I guess that game kind of, threw gasoline on the fire. It's kind of a mixture of a old school FPS, but kind of like, chunky polygon graphics style thing, right? Also, there's Bloodborne PSX. Yeah, somebody's crazy for doing that. Yeah. I guess that's the way that the cycles go. Oh, wow. Well, wait 1 second. I just noticed that the battery has gone to 6%. This stream is going to be dead in a minute. I hope this works. If the stream dies in a second, it's because the battery went dead, okay? Dwarf Fortress, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what happened with that. Let me see. Do I have access to the little tool here? What's it called? Proced. Starts with a G. I'm not gonna find this thing, am I? Gamma Step. Okay, where are you, Gamma Step? I see you right there. Bye. Did it fix itself? No, it did not fix itself. Okay. Can I disable it? Whatever. Kill all Gamma Step. I guess I need to, right? Judy wins the game. Okay. Let's see if the stream actually does get updated, though. Oh, boy. Okay, so I plugged in the laptop, and it did not start charging. So this ThinkPad X1 Nano first gen has problems with the USB plugs, and there's only 2 of them, USB-C plugs. Like they short out or something, and now the charger's not working, and I had to plug my USB hub into a different port. So I think I'm gonna have to call the stream here because it's gonna die in a second. Anyway, thank you all for all of your feedback on this. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we can turn some of these things into reality at some point. And I'll keep you posted on it. I need to start doing the newsletter again. I think that's a good place to start talking about some of this stuff. But anyway, send me your thoughts on what we should talk about on the stream next week. I intend to have a stream next week and continue to get back into the process of streaming again. So certainly let us get back into the rhythm again. And if you have thoughts on what you want me to talk about, certainly let me know. And until next time, I hope all of you have a very good weekend and happy hacking. See you next time.